City of Stevens Point Public Policy and General Government Meeting, recorded July 11th, 2022.
Meeting is called to order at 6:12 p.m.
Calling the meeting to order, please.
6:12 p.m. And clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Fischler.
Here.
Kiemer.
Here.
Christensen.
Here.
Sarazua.
Here.
Kneebone.
Here.
Okay, and that's quorum. Let's see, item number 2, our license list. So Class B beer and liquor license renewals. And looks like that's for Steve-O's, The Hub, Wicked Willow, Ski's Meat Market, and Suez Roadside Convenience. And then we also have temporary Class B beer and wine licenses for Pacelli Catholic Schools. And that's a temporary license for an event for Panacea, September 9th, 2022. And then, so we can take these together, correct, Mayor? Okay. All right. So are there any questions, comments from the committee? Any concerns from law enforcement?
No concerns at all.
Okay. Any concerns from the audience? No. All those in favor of approval, please.
Motion.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Getting ahead of myself. I'll take a motion.
I would move to approve the license list.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Alder Kiemer? All right, all those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, those are approved. Item number 3 is a request to hold an event street closing for the Pink Game. And this is a charity event with UWSP Athletics on September 14th, 2022. And this is a reoccurring event. I know I went last year. It was a really great event. And there's a ton of people there. So I guess for this is just approval for the street closing. Are there any concerns from law enforcement?
No, there are no concerns. Lieutenant Ben Eitenbrook will be working with campus police to make sure it's safe then.
Okay. And is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a
Alder
motion
Kiemer?
to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Christensen? Okay, any questions, comments from the committee?
I have a quick question. I noticed that any street closures require a $100,000 insurance liability. Does the university provide that for this event?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's more than that, but yes,
Okay,
at least 100,000.
minimum, yes.
Any questions or comments from anyone in the audience? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, oh, aye as well. All those opposed say nay. Abstentions, none. Okay, and that is also approved. And then item number 4 is a discussion on relocating the item for persons who wish to address the mayor and council for up to 3 minutes regarding a non-agenda item. Moving that to the end of council agendas instead of at the beginning. And Alder Shore, you had brought this forward. Would you mind giving us a little more information?
David Shore, 2nd District Alder. The idea is fairly simple, sort of the idea of doing our business first. And all the things that come to us in a given month for us to decide. Otherwise, no changes proposed. It's just to where it would come on the agenda, and to have it after we've concluded all our business, with the exception, of course, if we're going into closed session, then obviously it would come before that.
Okay. I guess, is this just a discussion item at this point, or were you looking for any action to be taken?
No, the agenda says discussion.
It does say,
Just discussion.
It does say discussion. I don't know whether there's a committee jurisdiction for it to come through. I suppose it would be this one before council, and there's no rush, right? So if it came back to the committee, next month for a decision next month, that's fine too.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. Alder Kim?
This is a question for Clerk Yanter and I guess for Attorney Beveridge. I'm just wondering how long this format of having the 3 minutes occur at the beginning of the meeting has been going on for city council meetings. And if, to your knowledge, there's, other councils that schedule this differently.
So, this has been going on forever.
Forever.
Okay.
And the reason we did that, we actually codified it to make sure that the citizens had a right to speak, not only at that non-agenda item, but on any action item that the council takes. We made that an ordinance. I want to point out that Robert's Rules says that the agenda order is set by the presiding officer. In the case of the council agenda, that would be the mayor's office. Any ordinance to the contrary, you would be contradicting Robert's Rules of Order. Certainly within your purview to do so, but I think that this is a bad idea. People, we are here first and foremost to serve the citizens of Stevens Point. And pushing them and forcing them to stay until the end of the meeting to do that, because that's really what it is a disservice to them and to everybody else who's watching and listening.
If you really pushed me for an opinion on the non-agenda item, it would be that it's a violation of open meetings law because it's a grab bag of mystery topics that the council would be taking in information on without having them appear on an agenda. And there is case law that says just informational presentations to the council do require notice on an agenda. So if you really pressed me, I'd say you should get rid of it entirely. But do I think it's that big of a deal? Probably not.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions?
Just to clarify, so you said forever it's always been done first, but it's also written in the ordinance?
The
Or it was
ordinance-
added to the ordinance?
Yeah, we added it to the ordinance. God, Carrie, do you remember? It was not long after I became mayor, because there were times when public comment had gotten shut off on some of the agenda items by others, and the council didn't agree with that. So we actually have it in the ordinance. I'm gonna ballpark it and say 2015, 2016-ish,
Okay,
that we made it part of the ordinance.
okay.
6 years.
Something like that, yeah. Don't hold me to the date, but yeah, 2015 or 2016, early 2016.
Oh, did you have a question?
No, I think, I'm glad we're bringing it up just for discussion first. I think it would be a major change and something that I'm glad we have a chance to look at and see, consider all the different ramifications that it could have. So I'm appreciative of the fact that we're not just forcing action right away and we're taking time to look at it and can look at it from all the different sides, so.
Oh, yes.
So I've had a lot of people contact me after city council meetings and seeing how this agenda item has essentially been abused. People have used it as a space to campaign. They've used it to spew disinformation, to attack elected officials, pushing personal agendas, those kinds of things. And so I've had several people reach out to me and ask why we even do this. And I continue to defend this as being a way that people reach us. So the response is always, anyone can call you, they can email you, they can write you a letter. And I agree, but this is really just one more avenue that we allow people to interact with us and give us information. I will say, however, that I think it makes sense for this to be at the end, as we will have already done our business that has to be done in the meeting, and then this is something that's extra. I think too, if it gets to a point where it is attacking us, threatening, calling us names, things like that, we don't have to continue the meeting at that point. And so that's why I feel that it's different if it were at the end.
I also agree with that statement, that a lot of times those minutes, and it's loosely 3 minutes is also part of the problem. It's, we do very much want to listen to what people have to say. We do very much want to hear people's, opinions and their side of their thoughts and opinions. But at the same time, I think it is important to either we need to do a better job as council or whoever's presiding in the meeting to making sure that we're sticking to that 3 minutes, or move it to the end too. I think that might make more sense as well. All right, go ahead.
I had a quick
Oh.
comment as well while the gentleman's coming up to the, I agree with what you said, Madam Chair. I think we need to stick to 3 minutes. It turns into, as has been mentioned, personal rants, misinformation, duplicate comments to agenda items that are coming up. So it's almost as if we're listening to the same discussion twice. I think people absolutely have a right to be heard. It's a fundamental founding principle of our country here, the freedom of speech. It is limited. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You shouldn't be calling people names. And I think really it doesn't matter to me one way or the other where it is. I just think we need to adhere to 3 minutes. It appears sometimes that some people get to talk longer than others, and that's not fair. So as long as it's handled fairly, everybody gets the same amount of time, I'm good with that. I think it's a right that citizens have.
Thank you. Yes.
Ron Carlson, 6th District Alderperson, 3356 Oak Avenue. I think just like in any family or any business, this is what we need to do: communicate, talk about these things, discuss it. That's how things get better. We have to be here. These people who come in off the street, they don't have to be here. And in the day of keyboard warriors who can sit and type and do whatever they want to do on Facebook or whatever, I appreciate when someone has the guts to walk in here and disagree or agree. I think it says a lot about that person. I think it says a lot about our transparency. I think we have to have transparency as a council. I think we have to invite the public in. The public is, we are, I think it was, who is it, Robert Conan Doyle, who said, used to say, the police are the public and the public is the police. It goes the same way for the council. The council is the public is the council. We're part of that. We have to hear these people when they walk through the door, and I'm glad we're discussing it and talking about it. Are there times we should say, you're being naughty, watch what you say? Yes. Sometimes we should say those things. We're all adults here, and we have to be able to communicate. It's key to any organization. Thank you.
Sean Morrow, District 11 Alder. I kind of like have the comments at the very beginning. I know in past administrations, as the mayor said, folks have been actually not allowed to also speak, and that is also changed. I know that the 3 minutes is the rule, but I know that this board has also been a little bit lax on that, and there's been good reason for that as well. If someone's trying to make their point, I know trying to speak is not the easiest thing. I know for myself as well, but it's nice that there is that leeway there. And I think if we do move it to the end, some of our meetings go to 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, and to keep someone here for 3.5 hours, I mean, that's not fair. I know by the end of the meetings, our nerves are a little frayed from being here 3.5 hours, and this is what we end up doing. And I mean, and for someone to take their whole day, their whole night to be here for 3.5 hours for some of our meetings, to have their 3 minutes of say, I don't think that's really fair. And it is hard for folks to come up here. I think it's good that and this is trying to get more folks to actually come out if they're able to speak their mind, speak their piece. And I'm set right there, so some folks who are very hot and so on, I mean, I'm right there. I mean, I'm not on the other side like Mark is. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, and folks have their right to say, I mean, and I know from other mayors have not allowed that. Some folks in the county don't allow that. I know a few weeks ago, the county cut some folks off and didn't have their fair share and didn't have their fair time, and I don't think that was really fair. And I think we're a lot. I mean, we're better than that. And we run. I mean, there's only 11 of us, and the county has 33, I believe. And so we're a lot smaller group, so I think it's better for folks to be able to speak to us because we have more impact than a lot of others have.
25.
Thank you. I was wrong. Thank you very much, Mayor. But I think that we should keep it the way that it is. Give folks their fair aspect, because that's one of the biggest issues that you're hearing. I mean, if you read in the news and so on, is that the council doesn't listen. That's one of the biggest criticisms that we have. That's in print, and it's in the Wire, it's in the Gazette, and so on. I mean, and I think if we end up doing this, this is going to be one more thing that folks are going to be upset about. And this is an easy thing for us. We've always done it. We've always done it this way. So, and the mayor has been gracious at times, and he has, when folks do seem to get out of hand, put them in check, as he also should as a head. So I think that this motion, I mean, it's a good thing to talk about, but I think it'd be a bad idea for us to actually change it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? In the public? Go ahead.
Yes, hi. Hello?
Hi,
Yes,
go ahead.
name, please?
Hi. Yes, hi.
Name and address, please.
Yeah, I was just listening to everyone.
Francis, we need your name and address, please.
Francis Makaroff at 2949 Lindbergh Avenue, Stevens Point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyway, so my personal point of view is that I think that you should have it to where people can speak up at the beginning of the meeting, and then just before y'all have voted, maybe you should have like a question and answer from the public before you actually make that vote. I don't know. I mean, it's just something that I was thinking that was coming right out of the box there. So yeah. So I had just basically wanted to toss that out to you.
Francis,
That's it.
thank you for speaking up. Just so you know, as you've seen tonight, when a motion is
Yeah.
on the floor for any item, the public does have a chance to speak on those agenda items. This particular discussion is for non-agenda items, things that aren't on the agenda where the general public can come in and speak about really whatever happens to be on their mind.
Correct.
Okay.
But I was talking in reference to what your conversation was about, as far as having a open to the public at the very beginning of the meetings, to where there can be a question and answer, and then prior to the actual vote to have a question and answer there too. That's it.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Brandy McCuskey, I'm at 1605 Riverview Avenue. I live in Keeley Fischler's district. First time I've ever addressed the city council in public, so I'm a little nervous. I've covered City Hall for 17 years here in Stevens Point. I've never seen a more thin-skinned group of individuals representing our city. I've never seen so many petty arguments. It's no wonder there are some individuals who come to this council and voice some frustrations from time to time. If you want to see arguments, go back and watch when Andy Halverson was running the city. That's when you saw some really strenuous city hall meetings for both committee and the council level. It would be great if all of you could go back and watch past meeting videos where Mr. Reed Rochlow spoke. The guy, if you didn't know him, he looked homeless. He looked like a crotchety old man, and he kind of was. The guy showed up with his glasses in one hand, going like this, and he had this yellow legal pad filled with notes. The guy had done all his homework, and he knew what he was talking about. There are people in this community who do their homework and know what they're talking about. This, for some people, is the only way they feel comfortable coming forward, because if they just call you or email you, maybe you can kind of poo-poo them or push them aside or give them an answer that they want to hear, but the rest of the community does not hear it. This public venue is the most appropriate place, in my opinion, for the public to come forward. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, we weren't talking about getting rid of it entirely. The agenda item is just about moving it to the end, so just wanted to make that clear. Anybody else?
Corey Kelly, 1111 Minnesota Avenue. I mean, Brandy kind of stole my thunder. Thin-skinned is a really good descriptive term because, like, what do you have against expression at all? I mean, that's like your big thing over the last year or so. The argument that people are going to get up here and rant and campaign and spread misinformation, guys, this is the most interesting part of these meetings. I mean, these meetings are dry and boring as hell. Like watching okay, I get it. Like, you don't want Keith getting up here and talking smack about you guys, all right? I get it, you know, I get why. But for the rest of us, it's so fun to watch. It really is. And the idea that people are going to give like duplicate comments, I mean, you guys like give duplicate comments constantly. Like, I don't really even see that as an argument. And the whole idea that you're just going to do the business right away. No, what this looks like is a pretty transparent attempt to disqualify people from speaking. Because as it was pointed out already, nobody's going to stay here until 10 o'clock at night or 11 or 12 or like, that's your guys' job. I just want to be here for the rants and misinformation, and I want to go home and watch football on Mondays. That's it. So that's all I had to say about it.
Again, I just want to clarify that rants are welcome for the beginning of the 3 minutes, and they're normally non-agenda items. So we're just talking about non-agenda items. So again, just want to clarify.
Hi, everybody. Kevin Fladoff, 2151 Ellis Street, Stevens Point. You know, I just look at this really as a clear attempt to muzzle people, Alder Shore. Because a lot of us don't have that time. A lot of us work 60-hour weeks. I'm at my car lot 7 days a week. Do you really think I want to be here on a Monday night till 9 o'clock to speak? And there are amongst others, just like me, that don't have that time. So I feel privileged that the city of Stevens Point, the elders, the mayor, give us the opportunity to get up here and speak openly on non-agenda items before the meetings start. Like today, for example, I just got back from the auto auction. Mondays, in the summer especially, are my auction days. It's very tenuous. I'm climbing in and out of hundreds of cars, very stressfully, bidding against other people. By the time I get here, I'm shot. I'm spent right now. It was a tough day at the auction. We did good, but it was tough. So I had written this down, and I was going to read it, and I think I will, just so you can understand, through sarcasm, how I feel about this. And I feel privileged that you allow me to speak as a tax-paying citizen of 5 different properties in the city of Stevens Point. Here's my recommendation for non-agenda items. Perhaps you should not only move the non-agenda items to the end of the city council meetings, you should limit the speakers to 30 seconds and only let them zoom in. Sarcasm, but I hope you get my point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, President Johnson.
Hello, everyone. Melissa Johnson, District 5. Thanks for the conversation. I don't think I'm thin-skinned. I've been called a lot of names in the last year, even before that, and I'm okay. Get up in the morning, go to work, and my work week is usually about 50 hours. So totally understand those long hours and appreciate that people show up after those long hours. I just want to note that it always hasn't been at the front of the agenda. Up until November 2006, it was at the end of the agenda. And I don't know why it changed. I kind of tried to do some, you may remember you were on council then. And I suspect it was because Reed Yes, we all remember Reed, and he really was a lovely man in his own way. Probably because he wanted to make sure he was heard early on. I don't know what the real reason is. I am open to criticism. I have 11 employees. I've raised 3 children and a granddaughter. I'm used to criticism, and so that's fine. I just honestly think I've sat here and watched our developers sit here waiting to conduct business through, very long discussions that are non-agenda, and I certainly want to respect them as well. The business may be long and boring, Mr. Collier, I know. There are some times when I'm going, ugh, yeah. But it's also fascinating. And for instance, like last November, we had a very, very long meeting and long discussion, and I think I was called a number of names then, but oh well. And then after that was the most exciting thing that happens all year long, and that's the budget. Because I'm a budget nerd. My budget is about a third of what the city's budget is, so I really enjoy that. And it's actually one of the biggest policy documents that we work on. So yeah, sometimes it could be long sitting here. But up until November 2006, that's the way it was conducted. So always it hasn't been this way. We conducted business first back then it changed for some reason. And again, I'm just speculating about Reed, but trying to honor everyone, including citizens, but also the people who are coming here to conduct business. So thank you.
Thank you. Alder Short?
Thanks. Just a few reactions to a really good discussion. One is that we seem to have kind of, glossed over the business that we conduct is what we're here to do. It's what's needed to be done. It's what, as has been said by many, and I'll echo, we absolutely want to hear input from people. As for non-agenda items, well, I think we also would welcome ideas to put up, to be put onto the agenda, right? And so, the floor is open for that. So I just think that, kind of being aware, for that, that all that boring stuff is what we're here to do. As for the comparisons to the past, been around for one of those comparisons and not for the other. No, I don't know how bad it got during the previous mayoral administration, and I'll just go ahead and say that we're lucky that it's better, and certainly nobody wants to go back to that. But I was here for Reed Rocheleau. I remember very well all the input and advice that he gave us. I do remember that it was sometimes sharp, but it was also always on topic. It had to do with decisions that we were making. And, however sharp it was or wasn't, I don't know, but it absolutely wasn't like what we've heard in the last year, a lot of which has been just kind of, take your shot. And, I'm talking about this now. I actually haven't in the past year. I've sat there and taken it because it is my job, like Melissa says. But yeah, I've got a question as to whether those kinds of things are sure. There's the free speech argument. I get it. I raised the idea because of what I've been saying here, which is how does it relate to what we're here to do on behalf of the community? Because there's maybe some respect deserved for that too. Just some thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hi.
Keith Growski, 1536 Water Street. I could have left without, but your job here is to represent the people and to do what's right for the people. It's your job, not my job, to come here. I do this because I'm passionate about something. I feel this is absolutely an effort at dissuading people from showing up because he's offended. Sorry if I'm offensive. I just think that you don't listen. I truly believe that. I don't know how Moria didn't get beat out last April, but we'll work again hard next April because I just don't get it. Sorry, this is an effort to dissuade people from talking. I know you hate being spoken to, you hate being contested, you love to push. It's what your party does. And in regard to the stuff that the price going up in the parking lots, thank you, Joe Biden.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, Dave Iden, 1008 Matilda Street, city resident. I guess given the timing of this proposal and it being, I guess, recommended, to me, appears to be a blatant call to restrict speech. I mean, I understand it's non-agenda speech, although a lot of the speaking on the non-agenda time period allowed tends to gravitate towards agenda items within the meeting. So if you want to move it to the back of the meeting, you're going to conduct that business not hearing what the public has to say in their opportunity to speak to the council. I mean, it goes right back to the fact that we still believe you don't hear us, and you don't listen to us, and you don't care. Because when we discussed the dwelling units, for example, you had the majority of people opposing this. City council rubber stamped it, went right through. So we'd like to think that you have the constituents and the city members' best interests at heart, but you time and again you prove you don't. And that's a problem. And I know you don't seem to care, as I can see right now. You know, anybody who opposes you, we have to try and squelch. You're trying to squelch free speech. That's my opinion. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Mayor.
So I'm going to go back in history because I was on council when we moved it from the back to the front. And the main reason wasn't necessarily Reed, but Reed was a big part of that, which, by the way, he was not on topic all the time, trust me. If there was a Reed Rochelo's greatest hits, Keith might look a little toned down. But the point is, sometimes we agreed with Reed, sometimes he had good ideas. Sometimes we didn't agree with him, and sometimes maybe his ideas were a little far out. But the reason we moved it to the front of the agenda was because we wanted to stress that it was important to hear what the public had to say. We work for the public. We're paid to be here. Every one of us are paid to be here. They're not. First and foremost, we should be listening to them, even if we disagree with them. But the logic there was, and I hold true to that philosophy today, when someone calls you, we all have our day jobs and we're busy with whatever it happens to be at City Hall. We might be butt deep in the budget. But when someone calls, because I had one today, she was worried that the water was it's in a construction zone, the manhole or the storm drains are covered because of construction, the water was rising, she was worried about it getting into her yard, into her home. That one, when she called me, that was the most important thing to her. Doesn't matter what's important to me. She had an issue that needed to be addressed. And that's why we moved it to the front of the agenda, because the people that show up, not everyone, but for the most part, the people that show up have a concern, and for them to take the time out of their day to come here and tell you what that concern is, that's the most important thing to them. Moving them to the back of the agenda, I think would be, as I said earlier, a disservice, but that's why we did it. As far as I know, I can't go back too terribly far before that, but it was always on the agenda to the point where, again, we codified it. Now, I want to talk about some of the content. Being on council since 2005, yeah, there were people that came up and just seemed to want to call you names or bitch at you. But that's part of the job too. We all knew that when we took the job. There are people, however, that have very legitimate concerns. And I take a lot of liberties with those 3 minutes within reason. As long as you are continuing to make a point and finish your thoughts, we always let them go. If they're calling us stinking commies or go Brandon, you don't need to have 3 minutes. I don't need to hear that. Should we be subject to that? No. We don't deserve it any more than you do. But it's your right to say it, and you can call me names on the street. I would dissuade anyone from just making personal attacks. Be part of the solution, not the problem. That name calling doesn't help anybody. Even though it's your right to do it, doesn't mean you always should. And the point is that putting this on the front of the agenda helps show the public that they were the priority, and they should be. If you think otherwise, I think you're wrong. That's why we moved to the front of the agenda. If you want to be strict on the 3 minutes, we can, but you're going to take the good with the bad. People like Trevor Rourke, who have a topic that they want to talk about and frequently go over 3 minutes. Or Nancy Roppe, or any of the other people who have legitimate things to say. If you want to cut them off at 3 minutes, you can do that. I'll do that if that's what the majority wants, but I don't think that's the right way to handle it either. We have to take the good with the bad. And I'll leave it at that.
Just 60 seconds.
I just have one more comment.
How about,
And you've got Alder Kneebone as well.
all right, Alder Short first, then Alder Kneebone. 60 seconds.
I would just like us to have our
30
discussions in a spirit of good faith, which means, and I'm comfortable saying it, we all have the community's best interests at heart. Why did I gesture in response to that particular comment? Because I think every one of us up here, out here, all of us deserve that basic respect, to trust that each other, we all have our community's best interests at heart. I want credit for that, that's all. I don't think it's too much to ask.
Thank you. Alder Kneebone.
I just wanted to say I miss Reed Rochlow, and I don't know why he always pointed at me when he started calling people stupid. I think because I was closest to the podium that he was speaking from. I miss his involvement, and I miss his passion. And I think, I encourage people to come and speak to us, but we can disagree without being disagreeable. So, thank you.
And Mary, I think Reed was like that painting where the eyes are always following you, because no matter where you sat in the room, it looked like Reed was pointing at you. Like whoever that was.
Can I have 10 more seconds, please?
10 more seconds.
Because I forgot to say this.
See? Liberties.
Yeah, no, and I forgot to say this because everybody's mentioned, but I would like to reiterate, at my first city council meeting, I saw Reed Rochlow and Mayor Helverson head to head, and Helverson locked him up, and it was interesting. I've been watching meetings since. This would be a disservice to Reed Rochlow. He's been a huge part of this community. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, Alder Zierzwil.
I guess a question I have, and not expecting an answer, we've already heard from Attorney Beveridge, but I guess I would want more understanding of how maybe this violates open meeting law, and wondering if the League of Wisconsin Municipalities has a stance on this. I get that we have it in our ordinances, but if we're...
I emailed the league but have not heard back yet.
Okay. I mean, that's something we have to address if we are...
I'll be seeing them on Wednesday.
...violating the open meeting law, so...
Go ahead, Alder Kiemer.
Yeah, I have one more clarifying question too. It's my understanding that if someone wants to address the mayor and the council, they need to do so in person, but is that the case? Can they submit something in writing, or do they need to actually come?
Oh, go ahead.
No, you
Okay.
do not need to come in person.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we've tossed around the idea now that we're on the downside of COVID, requiring participation of any sort to be in person
Okay.
rather than even virtually. But yes, anytime, and anyone at City Hall can attest, we get phone calls and
Sure.
emails and letters every day. Some of them not as nice as Keith. But there are, anybody at any time has the ability to send something to an alderperson, a city staff member. If it's meant for all of the alders, the clerk sends it out to everybody. We've done that on several occasions too. So we want to be as open and accessible as we possibly can. So
Okay.
yes, they could call you a stinking commie in a letter too.
I thought we had read letters before, but I wasn't sure if they were
That's a good
items
list.
not relating to the agenda letters. So, thank you.
And that's a good point, because I've received letters and emails, and I've asked people if they want me to speak for them on their behalf. Sometimes most of the time they say no, but wanted to just provide their comments or their opinions. So we do, in this day and age of technology, have other ways, means of communicating with each other as well. So, we do have email, we do have text messaging, or, leaving voicemail messages, all sorts of stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be in person in the first 3 minutes for the non-agenda items. So, on that note, I guess, are there any other questions or comments for the committee on this agenda item? And there's no decision being made either. We're just discussion, so. Oh, yes.
It's Francis again.
Okay.
Hello, sorry.
Okay,
Anyway.
Francis, we just are going to limit it for, I guess everyone wanted extra 30 seconds, so go ahead.
Okay, so, yeah, I had just wanted to tell you that I had recently moved up here from Tampa. So I am new to the game here. And so I am just trying to find out just what meetings that people can, come to and have their Q&A done and everything.
Okay, Francis, and I think you and I have actually had conversations via email, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm your alder for your district,
but,
so.
Yeah, but I don't think that I had asked you this.
Okay, would you want to ask me more questions offline outside of this agenda item, or?
Well, sure.
Okay,
Sure. Yeah.
I'm happy to have that conversation with you, but I think we're just sticking to this agenda item in particular right now.
The simple answer, Francis, is every meeting allows that.
Yes.
Okay.
And the schedule of meetings can be found at stevenspoint.com.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, when I was working for Hillsborough County, we had the Board of County Commissioners, and they had meetings like every single day. And the meetings were open to the public. The rooms were always packed. They always, people always went up to the podium and they asked questions and so on. And I'm just really stunned that you don't have more of a active group of people that live here that aren't really coming to the meetings, and speaking out and so on. So that's just my simple observation.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you for your input, Francis. All
Sure.
right, is there anybody else for 30 seconds? No. All right, on that note, we are adjourned at 6:56. Thank you.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.